Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, so for today's show, we're going to start off talking about the Boston Celtics. I don't know what's going on with the Celtics right now. They're not playing good basketball at all, right? Started off the season 16-2. Since then, they've gone 24-17. Obviously, that's not good. All right, if you want to be competing with the Cavs and teams like the Raptors. I'm speaking of those two teams. We'll be talking about them in the show too. Let's see, because Charles Barkley made some comments talking about how they're the top two teams in the East, probably the only two teams with a legitimate shot as far as getting out of the East. So we'll be talking about that too. We'll be talking about the NBA games from last night. There was only two. We had the Nuggets playing the Milwaukee Bucks and the Lakers facing off with the Timberwolves. So we'll talk about those two games. All right, in the third segment, we'll be talking about the teams who are tanking. All right, talk about them. Pretty much just talk about them going forward, their futures and all that. Pretty much just a nice little segment that has to do with the teams that are tanking. We'll talk about the Kings, the Magic, the Bulls, the Knicks. Let's see who else is trying to tank. The Hawks. I'm sure there's a bunch of other teams that currently stink right now. So we talk about those teams, talk about where they currently are in the Tankathon sweepstakes. All right, so we'll be doing that. And then for the final segment, all right, usually for a show, I like to make picks for the games and stuff like that at the end or talk about what's going on the weekend. But we don't have any extra or any actual basketball games going on this weekend. All right, we got the All-Star Weekend. So we'll be talking about that. I'll make my picks for the three-point shootout contest, the dunk contest, the All-Star game itself, and the Rising Stars game. All right, so we'll be doing that for the fourth segment. I think we might even talk a bit about Kobe Bryant in that fourth segment. Either that or maybe, I'll probably do that in the fourth segment, all right? So let's get started. Let's start off with the Celtics. All right, what's going on with the Celtics right now, okay? Wednesday, they played the Clippers, was close the entire game, ended up losing 129-119. For a team that's supposed to be supposed to have the number one defense in the league, that's not too good, giving up 129 to a team like the Clippers, all right? I'm not trying to take anything away from the Clippers, but normally you wouldn't consider them as a team who could drop anywhere from 120 or more on any given night, really, all right? So, yeah, the Celtics just haven't been playing good basketball as of late, and, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons going into it as of why. I mean, there's this whole, they haven't been playing defense well, okay? And they stopped playing good defense once Marcus Smart got hurt his hand, all right? Because you remember Marcus Smart a few weeks ago swiped out a glass picture frame or something like that, cut his hand, sliced it a bit, and he's been out ever since. All right, and if you're watching the Celtics, there's no real inspiration or anything like that. There's no emotion. It's like they're just pretty much robots playing basketball, I don't know. It's kind of weird watching the Celtics. Like there's no excitement about it or anything like that, right? You see a guy like Marcus Smart come in, he's out there, he brings something to the table, right? He's like that much needed spark off the bench. All right, and they just simply haven't had that with him out off the team, pretty much not playing the last couple of weeks. He's supposed to be coming back after the All-Star break, and they're going to need him big time because, like I said, that defense has been looking extremely bad, all right? I think they're, lost 4 of their last 5 games, lost to the Raptors, lost to the Cavs, lost to the Pacers, and lost to the Clippers, and they barely beat the Wizards in overtime, and, I mean, that could have easily been a loss if Markieff Morris knew not to foul Kyrie Irving on the three-point line with a couple seconds left, all right? So, yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on there. And plus, they can't score, all right? They can't score consistently. They need a top scorer, all right? And I think that problem right there stems from the Gordon Hayward injury, okay? Because, that's what Gordon Hayward was supposed to be. Gordon Hayward was supposed to be that player who is supposed to be that second scorer on the team. That guy pretty much, because the last few years with Isaiah Thomas yeah, he was a great scorer and stuff like that. But, I mean, when playoffs came, all you had to do was double him. And if you kick it out, like he kicks it out to someone, I mean, you have no one else on that team that could have created a shot. All right, that was supposed to be different this year with bringing in Kyrie Irving. Or they were actually, no, I forget. All right, they traded for Kyrie after they got Gordon Hayward. All right, so yeah, they had Isaiah Thomas still. All right, and at the time, I'm guessing, unless somehow, I don't know, like how that whole trade went down as far as the Celtics getting Kyrie Irving was a bit random. All right, because I remember just scrolling through Twitter during the summer, and all of a sudden I see Adrian Wojnarowski's tweet from ESPN, and it's like Celtics and Cavaliers are extremely close for a deal sending Kyrie Irving to Boston. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? All right, but nonetheless, yeah, they brought in Hayward to, I guess, to be the other scorer to play with Isaiah Thomas to take something off, take the team a little bit off of his shoulders and pretty much spread it around. And, I mean, eventually that's where they traded for Kyrie, got rid of Isaiah, Crowder, Zizic, and that Brooklyn pick. And that's what it was supposed to be this year. It was supposed to be Kyrie and Hayward. They weren't supposed to have that problem where they only had one real scorer who could go out and create his own shot. But sure enough, Hayward breaks his ankle, and now they've been kind of stuck. All right. Like I said, they did start off the season 16-2, so I'm not really sure what's been going on as far as what got them away from playing that well. But nonetheless, they really got to figure it out, all right? Because, I mean, Toronto's passed them up as far as being the best team in the East, and then you got Cleveland who's passing them up too. I guess you could already say that Cleveland has passed them up, all right? Because Cleveland, with this new team that they got, are playing good basketball, all right? They've looked extremely well together since they've been together, all right? Beat two good teams in the Celtics and Thunder, all right? And as far as the Raptors go, I mean, the Raptors, because look at Charles Barkley on ESPN First Take this morning said that there's only two legit teams that can make it out of the East, and that was the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. And I'm not sure, like, I would go and say that those are the two best teams in the East, but I wouldn't go as far to say that the Celtics have no shot at making it out, all right? Because let's put it this way, all right? Charles Barkley, I remember when Gordon Hayward broke his ankle in that first game, in the post-game show that they did, or I think it was at halftime, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but nonetheless, Charles Barkley said that the Celtics season was over and they had no chance, all right? And that's when they went on that little 16-2 run as far as wins and losses. And Charles Barkley, that's a guy who doesn't watch much of the league, all right? And I'm not just saying that just to say it. He said on First Take, too, that I've only watched 2 games out of the last 3 weeks or whatever. I don't understand really how you could form an opinion like that and only be paying attention the last couple of weeks. Like, if Charles Barkley would have said that and they gave some reasons as to why he felt that, then yeah, sure, that makes all the sense in the world, right? Because the Celtics really just haven't been playing good basketball as of late, all right? You got Jason Tatum, who really hasn't been looking too good, pretty much hitting a rookie wall, it feels like. Jaylen Brown hasn't been able to score as consistently as you'd like him to be. All right, Al Horford's been having one of the best seasons of his career, I feel. But, I mean, other than that, you got Terry Rozier, too. Let's talk about Terry Rozier for a second, all right? Terry Rozier, the Celtics got to figure out what they want to do with him because Terry Rozier is looking like a guy who could start in this league. The dude's been playing lights out the last, 6 games, I guess you could say. All right. I remember in the first game he started when Kyrie Irving was out, he had a triple-double. Second game he scored, I think, nearly 30, I think it was. And then last couple of games he's averaging nearly from anywhere from 15 to 20 a game. So, I mean, the dude's been playing extremely well. And I'm wondering, Terry Rozier is a young player. I think they drafted him 2 years ago, right? This is the 3rd year. Obviously, he's got 1 more year on his deal. I think they could pick up a team option for the 5th. I'm curious to see what the Celtics' plan is to do with him, right? Because you can't keep him a backup point guard forever. Eventually, he's going to want to go and start for a team. And I'm not saying get rid of Kyrie Irving or anything like that, but it's just kind of intriguing because I remember there was rumors going around that the Celtics didn't get Jimmy Butler because they didn't want to trade Terry Rozier. And, I mean, in hindsight, I guess it all worked out because they did end up with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward either way. But nonetheless, I mean, I guess I understand sort of why they didn't want to trade Terry Rozier, if that makes any sense. Obviously, if I take it right now, Terry Rozier is straight up for Jimmy Butler. I'm taking Jimmy Butler every day of the week. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't know. Terry Rozier is like one of the best point guards in the league this season. All right. But getting back to the Celtics as a whole, I mean, they just aren't playing good basketball at all. It's like whatever Brad Stevens is doing isn't working. All right. And I'm not really sure what it's going to take for them to get back to it, okay? Because their biggest problem, besides, obviously the defense could get fixed, I feel, all right? Once you get Marcus Smart, I think the defense will be fixed, all right, once you get him back. But the problem with scoring is still there, all right? You have no second scorer on your team, all right? Jason Tatum could be that in the next couple of years, but he's not going to be that this year. Jaylen Brown is just not a guy who's ready yet to take over a role like that. And like I said, you got Terry Rozier is probably the next best scorer on the team, but he plays the same position as Kyrie, so he's not going to be as efficient or as dominant as he would be if he was the only point guard on the floor. So you can't really rely on that either. All right, and then other than that, I mean, you really have no one else off the bench who could go out and score. All right, so I mean, the Celtics really just gotta hope that Gordon Hayward heals up and eventually he comes back, or they gotta hope that Jason Tatum snaps out of the little funk he's been in, and hope that he becomes a better player because. Obviously, we know with how Jason Tatum's been playing, he's going to be a good player in the league going forward, but it's his rookie year, so he's been struggling. But I think personally that what the Celtics should do is you move Tatum to the bench, you bring Marcus Smart into the start. All right, yeah, that's going to take away an offensive option in the starting five, but nonetheless, Jason Tatum isn't really a guy with the starting five who's really going to be like the second or even third option on that team, okay? I think if he was to run it with the second unit, then that's where you see him become the first or second option on that team as far as getting the ball and scoring, right? Maybe Terry Rozier becomes the first option, but nonetheless, I think Jason Tatum would more so thrive with the second unit than he would with the first team, all right? Because like I said, you gotta give up shots to Kyrie Irving, you gotta give up shots to Al Horford, all right, and Jaylen Brown too. So if I'm Brad Stevens, again, he did say too before the All-Star break, he was asked after the Clippers game that like if he was going to be making any changes, and it sounded like he was thinking about it, and like maybe that's something that needs to be done. So yeah, I say move Marcus Smart to the starting five and then move Tatum to the second unit. And I think that's not going to solve the problem, but I think it's going to help it. So we'll see what they do there. But as far as Toronto and Cleveland being the only two teams that have legitimate shots out of getting out of the East. I mean, yeah, I guess if you had just pretty much you had like an argument that you could make there, then yeah, that'd work. But as far as Charles Barkley saying, oh yeah, I've only watched 2 games the last 3 weeks or whatever, and he's saying that, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how much stock I could put into it, right? Because getting back to the Cavs, I mean, yeah, they're playing good basketball. They're very unselfish now. They're playing better defense. It's looking like, granted, it's only been 2 games, but nonetheless, they're looking good. And as far as the Raptors go, I mean, they've been playing good basketball too. Right? You got DeMar DeRozan, who's been one of the best players in the league this season. No one's really talking too much about him, and no one really ever talks too much about DeMar DeRozan, right? I understand that, like, the team as a whole, if you don't want to really give them too much respect because you figure that they're just going to get bounced in the first round as they always do. But nonetheless, I mean, I feel like DeMar DeRozan as a player and as an individual deserves a little bit more, right? He's probably the third best shooting guard in the league. I'll take him over Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson, and CJ McCollum. All right, I'll take Jimmy Butler and James Harden over him, but nonetheless, DeMar DeRozan definitely one of the best shooting guards in the league. All right, but that's actually going to wrap it up for this segment. All right, but as far as the Celtics go, again, they need to figure out those little shooting woes, whether it's moving Tatum to the bench or whatever, and I think those defensive problems get fixed when Marcus Smart gets back, all right? So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Like I said, next up, we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets and Bucks game, and then we're going to be talking about the Timberwolves and Lakers game. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. In that last segment, we talked a bit about the Celtics, talked about their recent struggles, and talked about how the Cavs and Raptors are the team to beat in the East right now, but the Celtics still aren't far off from them, all right? But nonetheless, for this segment, we'll be talking about the 2 NBA games from Thursday, which was last night, all right? Only 2 of them because the All-Star break starts today, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think we're back with games on Tuesday, I think. Monday, maybe, but I think it'd be Tuesday. I think it'd be kind of weird to have games after Sunday. So, nonetheless, we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets versus the Milwaukee Bucks and the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. So let's just get into it now, all right? You're the Denver Nuggets facing off with the Bucks in Milwaukee, and the Nuggets won this one 134-123. You had Wilson Chandler with 11 points, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 9, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Nikola Jokic with another triple-double, 30 points, 17 assists, 15 rebounds, shot 11 of 14, 3 of 3 from the three-point line. Jamal Murray with 26 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 9 of 12, 5 of 7 from the three-point line. Will Barton with 19 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 5 of 13, 4 of 7 from the three-point line. Then you had Gary Harris with 28 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, shot 10 of 18 from the field, 5 of 7 from the three-point line. As for the Bucks, you had Giannis Antetokounmpo with a triple-double, 36 points, 13 assists, 11 rebounds, shot 14 of 21, did hit a 3 in that one. Then you had Chris Middleton with 17 points, 7 rebounds, shot 7 of 17, hit 1 3 in this one. Eric Bledsoe with a good shooting night from him, 27 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 9 of 14, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. Tony Snell, he had 10 points. And off the bench, you had Jabari Parker with 12 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from the three-point line. Then you had Tyler Zeller with 14 points, 5 rebounds, shot 7 of 9 from the field in 30 minutes of play. All right. So the way I see it with both of these teams here is that these are the teams of the future for both of their conferences, all right? And I guess it's kind of tough to call the Nuggets the team of the future in the West because you still have the Warriors who have pretty much all of their players still in their prime, all right, not even halfway through their prime. So it's going to be tough to oversee a team like Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, all right? But I do think eventually within the next few years, one of those guys will be gone, and it'll probably be either Klay Thompson or Draymond Green. And if I had to make my pick for it right now, I'd say that it'd be Klay Thompson instead of Draymond Green that's going to be gone from this team, because I don't think that's just not how it works, all right? You don't really keep your core, especially with how good these players are. It's really tough to keep like a core set of players for a long period of time, all right? Eventually, you're going to have guys who want to go do things on their own and pretty much show that they can do it on their own, rather than have guys who hang on the coattails of guys like Kevin Durant or Steph Curry. All right, I'm not saying that's what Draymond Green is doing, but I feel like Klay Thompson, Klay Thompson is a bit of a weird player to me, all right? He's one of the best shooters of all time, but I'm not sure if he's more of a product from the players around him or if he could go out, let's take him from the Warriors, take him to the, I don't know, it's kind of weird, right? Because Klay Thompson, obviously, you're going to play better when you have better players, right? But what I'm trying to say is, could Klay Thompson be the best player on a team and still be as good as he is now? All right? I'm not sure. I feel like Klay Thompson needs, that true solid point guard to help him out a bit because, Klay can help go create a shot and all that. But, I just don't think he'd be as productive as he is now with a different team. All right? And I'm not trying to take anything away from Klay. Like I said, he's one of the best shooters of all time, probably the second best shooter of all time, right behind Steph. But nonetheless, I'm not sure how long a team like the Warriors is going to stick around together. All right? But getting back to the point, talking about the Nuggets, you got guys like Jokic, you got Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Will Barton, who's been playing well. All right? That's a nice little young core right there, okay? Obviously, these aren't guys that are going to go and unseat the Warriors this year or probably next year for any of that matter. But nonetheless, they keep developing and the Nuggets keep pretty much building in the offseason. Then they're going to get even better because look at it. The Nuggets were supposed to have Paul Millsap in that lineup. And, he's out for a few months. But nonetheless, imagine him with his team right now, especially with how good they're playing, right? They'd be even better. Probably stick him in Wilson Chandler's spot because that's one thing I like, too. You had Will Barton in the beginning of the season coming off the bench, but now they've figured out to find a spot for him in the starting five. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they've played so well, right? I think currently the Nuggets are in the 6th seed. Let's see. Let me check the standings right here. They're not far off from the 3 seed either, right? So, yeah, the Nuggets are in the 6th seed. Let's see. They are currently 32-26. A half game back of the Thunder for the 5th spot, 2.5 games back of the Timberwolves and the Timberwolves and the Spurs, for those 3 and 4 spots. All right, so Timberwolves being in the 4th spot, Spurs being in the 3rd. That's pretty good, all right, especially for how it is right now. But now I'm looking, I feel like the West is pretty top heavy. Let me see if I can find something out real quick that'll help me figure that out. But nonetheless, you do from the 3 seed to the 8th seed, I think there's only 3 games that separates the 8th seed from the 3 seed right there. And I don't know. I feel like I feel like we've been how do I say? I feel like we've been like, just because the Warriors and the Rockets have been in that division for so long, I feel like we've overvalued the West a bit, but nonetheless, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to see how it's all played out so far. Because, I mean, look, you wouldn't really consider the Pelicans as one of the top teams in the NBA, right? No, you wouldn't. All right, but nonetheless, they go on a 3-game winning streak. The Spurs go on a 3-game losing streak. Those teams both have the same records, okay? Would you consider the Pelicans a top 3 team in the West? Would you consider them a top 4 team in the West? No, you wouldn't. All right? But, I mean, I feel like the East, it's more spread out, okay? Because look at it right here. You got the Hawks, who are in first. Then you got the Celtics, who are 2 games back. Cleveland, who are 6.5 games back of first. But I feel like that's going to change eventually as they play more together. You got the Wizards, who are 8 games behind first and all that. You got the Pacers right there. All right, from the 3 seed to the 8th seed, you got it separated by 5 games. And you know what? Maybe you can, like, it's pretty much, as far as looking at it, as far as which conference is better, it's pretty much just your perception, all right? Because you can make arguments for both, and you can pretty much twist and turn arguments around just to see who's better than who, all right? Because, I mean, saying that the 8th seed is better, or is 3 games behind the 3 seed in the West, you could pretty much say, oh yeah, because the West is that much better and all the teams are good there, all right? And as far as the East goes, you could say it's more balanced out, but nonetheless, I mean, either way, this Nuggets team is going to be really good in the near future, and I think even next year they probably could be a top 4 team in the West. All right, I'm not really sure, I don't know, with the Spurs, it's kind of weird to figure them out, all right? Because right now they're the 3 seed, they're without Kawhi Leonard, and I'm sure they'd be a whole lot better with him out there. And I'm not even sure when Kawhi's going to be back, but nonetheless, I guess we could all agree that, yeah, they'd be a whole lot better than what they are now, all right? And they're still not even a bad team now. There's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird to pretty much talk about the Spurs. Like, are they a great team, or are they a good team right now, all right? I feel like the Rockets and Warriors, they're a great team. Okay, but I don't know if we could put the Spurs in that same level. With Kawhi, I think they could be a great team, but nonetheless, it's like, I don't know, with the Spurs, it's just weird, because like I said, I mean, I feel like we've been waiting for the Spurs for so long to be that team that pretty much dips off and falls off into the sunset, but nonetheless, they've still been around, all right? Tim Duncan is gone. Tony Parker is off the bench. Manu Ginobili is pretty much on his last legs as far as an NBA player. All right, you got LaMarcus Aldridge, who's been playing well, and you got Kawhi Leonard, who's been out most of the season, but nonetheless, I mean, the Spurs still figure out a way to play well. All right, it's probably more so to do with coaching than anything, because they just figure out a way to get these players in the best positions to succeed, but nonetheless, I mean, this team's playing really well, so I guess it's more the Nuggets are going to have to take over, because you got the Thunder at the 5 spot, and you got the Timberwolves at the 4 spot. And we're actually going to talk about the Timberwolves in a few moments, but nonetheless, talking about the Thunder, I mean, maybe the Nuggets take over their spot next year, because you're not sure what's going to happen to Paul George and if Melo's going to be the same player he is this year or whatever. So, I mean, as far as the Nuggets go, it's going to be kind of weird. But let's talk about the Bucks for a little bit, all right? The Bucks, more so than the Celtics or Sixers, are regarded as the team that's going to take over for the Cavaliers once the Cavaliers are done. All right, and I understand it, but I don't know. All right, because the Sixers, I think, are a really good team, are going to be a really good team in the next few years. And you got the Celtics, who are already up there and one of the youngest teams in the league. All right, but I do understand the Bucks are going to be taking over, because you got a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who, I mean, is a jump shot away from being the best player in the league. You got Chris Middleton, who's been playing well, nice little 3-and-D guy. All right, you got Eric Bledsoe, who's been playing well at the point guard position. You got Jabari Parker, where if he stays healthy, could be a nice little piece for them. And you got Malcolm Brogdon, where, yeah, he's injured right now, but when he's out there, I mean, he was the Rookie of the Year last year, I believe. So when he's out there, he plays extremely well. So, I mean, the Bucks got a nice little core right there. All right, they got 5 solid players. All right, and then you got Thon Maker. You got to see what you got left, what you got in him. But nonetheless, I mean, they're set up nicely for the future. All right. So that's all I got to say about those teams, but let's talk about the other game from last night, the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. This game took place in Minnesota, and Minnesota won this one 119-111. All right, you had Julius Randle for LA with 26 points, 9 rebounds, shot 8 of 15 from the field. Brandon Ingram, he had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 of 14. Brook Lopez, he only had 6 points in this one. it just kills me how the Lopez brothers just don't know how to rebound the ball, all right? Brook Lopez only had 2 rebounds in this one, played 26 minutes. That's brutal. The dude sits at the three-point line, dude. He's like one of my good friends, all right? We'll play basketball. The guy's like 6'5", 6'6", and then for us, I'm only 5'5", and the other dude that plays with us is like 5'8", 5'9". This dude does not post up, right? He'll sit by the three-point line and just take shots over and over and over. He's like the Brook Lopez of our pickup games. But nonetheless, yeah, Brook Lopez has 6 points, 2 rebounds, shot 2 of 5 from the field. All those came from the three-point line. Then you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with 17 points, 6 assists, 11 rebounds, shot 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. All right, Kyle Kuzma, he had 8 points, 2 rebounds, shot 3 of 12 from the field, 2 of 9 from the three-point line. Not a great game from him, obviously. And then Isaiah Thomas struggled in this one. All right, he had 7 points, 5 assists, shot 3 of 15 from the field, 0 of 5 from the three-point line. You had Ivan Zubac with 19 points, 11 rebounds, 8 of 8 from the field, and Corey Brewer shot 6 times, made 3 of those, and had 6 points. As for the Timberwolves, look at here. All right, Taj Gibson with 28 points, 7 rebounds, 11 of 16 shooting. Andrew Wiggins, not a great night from him. Shot 4 of 11 in this one. Didn't hit a 3. 4 rebounds, had 8 points. Karl Anthony Towns with 10 points, 19 rebounds. Shot 2 of 9 from the field. Then you had Jeff Teague with 20 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. Shot 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. Jimmy Butler, he shot 7 of 20 from the field in this one. 0 of 7 from the three-point line. 24 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. And then off the bench, you had Jamal Crawford with 15 points, 3 assists. Shot 6 of 11, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. And Tyus Jones shooting 3 of 4, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, and 8 points. All right, so once again, the Timberwolves won this one 119 to 111, all right? Lakers haven't been playing good basketball the last week or so, and I don't think they've been playing good basketball really for most of the season. Let me see how many points they give up in the West. They gave up 110 points, and that is good for, let's see, that is good for third worst. Yeah, so that's third worst in the West, okay? And obviously, that is not good. All right, not good at all. The Pelicans and the Suns give up more. There was one point where the Kings were one of the worst defensive teams in the league too, but they gave up 106. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the league. They might be the worst offensive team in the league. Let's see, the Kings, they average about 98.7 points a game. That is the worst in the league, actually, as far as scoring. So, yeah, the Kings are the worst offensive team. But nonetheless, getting back to the Lakers, I mean, I saw an article ESPN from Ramona Shelburne. The headline read, let's see, what did the headline read? The headline read, I think it was, the Lakers don't need Lonzo Ball to be their savior. I think it's what it said, or something like that. And I was reading it a bit. Let me see if I got it right here. I thought I just saw it. All right, so Lonzo is no longer the Lakers savior because they no longer need one. I'm not sure really what that means, okay? Ramona Shelburne usually says a lot of smart stuff, but I'm kind of confused as to what this means. All right, I was trying to read the article to figure it out, and it was more talking about Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball rather than it was talking about maybe the team season so far this year. Maybe they were like because I didn't get to finish the entire article because I had to get going with this show, but nonetheless, maybe towards the end she talks about Brandon Ingram, how well they're playing. But I mean, like, I don't know. This is a weird article. It's a weird headline. The Lakers drafted him number 2 overall. The Lakers drafted him to be the savior. How can you ditch that after one season? All right, maybe it's more damage control or something like that. Maybe it's more they know what we don't as far as LeBron James going there. Maybe because I know LeBron James, if he were to go to L.A. to play for the Lakers, I don't think Lonzo Ball works there really as far as them both on the court. So maybe that's where it comes from there. But nonetheless, I mean, it makes no sense to say now that Lonzo Ball is no longer the savior that the Lakers need because they don't need one. What do you mean? Like, what does that mean? All right, I don't get it. The Lakers do need a savior. All right, because the Lakers are still a team in the lottery. They're not a good team by any means. All right, yeah, they compete and stuff like that, but the Lakers just aren't a good team. They're a young team who competes. That's it. All right, let me see their record right now. The Lakers are 23-34, 8 games behind the 8th seed, so I don't think they'll be making the playoffs this year. All right, let alone they're 7.5 games back or 6.5 games back of the Jazz. So I mean, the Lakers really have no shot at making the playoffs. So what do you mean, like Lonzo Ball isn't the savior because they don't need one? They need someone. All right, this more article has me thinking maybe Ramona Shelburne has some kind of inside scoop where she knows that some type of free agent is going there. And as far as free agents going to LA, I mean, the last big-time free agent the Lakers ever signed, you know who that was? That was Shaq, all right? People are going to tell me Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol not a big-time free agent, okay? That was Shaq. Shaq is the last big-time free agent the Lakers ever had, Okay, so as far as that whole plan where we're going to get Paul George, LeBron, all those guys, I mean, I'm not really sure how much you could trust it. If I'm the Lakers, I'm trying to build with this young core, all right? Yeah, I understand it's the Lakers, and they got to be one of the best teams in the league at the second most championships and all that, but nonetheless, you do have a solid young core, all right? You have a nice point guard in Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball gets a lot of criticism, and I feel like a lot of that's unwarranted just because of the fact that it's more has to do with his dad than it does with Lonzo himself. Because if you pay attention, Lonzo Ball doesn't really speak. He doesn't really talk too much. All right, the dude's just out there to play basketball. Right, he's not going to get frustrated or anything like that. He's literally out there, pretty much like a kid at the park playing by himself. All he wants to do is play basketball. So I don't understand why Lonzo Ball gets so much hate. Yeah, he's probably not the player that we all expected him to be in his rookie year, but I feel like there was some unrealistic expectations as far as him in his first year. All right, yeah, he doesn't shoot the ball too well, but he does everything else pretty well. All right, but I think as far as like the Lakers not needing a savior, no, they still need that franchise-changing player. All right, maybe that could be Lonzo Ball as he develops more, or maybe that's a guy like Brandon Ingram. But as far as them getting free agent stuff, Paul George would be nice there, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like I like this young core that the Lakers have, and I feel like they should more try and develop that and pretty much develop a team through the draft like the Warriors did. But we'll see how it all ends up. So that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about the teams who are currently trying to tank, and pretty much just a segment dedicated to the teams trying to tank. All right, segment dedicated to the Kings, to the Mavericks, maybe even the Lakers, but I don't even think they're trying to tank. Maybe we could just talk more about the Lakers, all right? We'll talk about the Suns, all right? We'll talk about the Grizzlies a bit. We'll talk about the Hawks, the Magic, the Nets, and the Bulls, and the Knicks, all right? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. Man, I've only started doing the show Monday, but I start getting used to these little intros too, because it's different compared to the basketball and sports ones. Just gotta learn to come in on time, so just learning the show a little bit more, getting used to it. But nonetheless, all right, we've had a fun show throughout. We talked about the Celtics in the first segment, talked a bit about the Cavs and Toronto Raptors in that segment too. This past segment, we talked about the NBA games from last night. There was only two. Talked about the Nuggets beating the Bucks and the Lakers losing to the Timberwolves. All right, we really didn't talk too much about the Timberwolves in that last segment, but there's not really too much to say about them right now. I mean, I'm not going to praise them for beating the Lakers, okay? It's just not going to happen. The Timberwolves, with the team they got, should be beating these lottery teams, okay? What the Timberwolves need to start doing better is beating these teams that are in the top in the West, right? You need to start beating the Rockets, or at least competing. Start beating the Warriors, or competing, all right? Start beating the Spurs, all right? I'm sure they've gotten a win against one of these teams. I can't remember off the top of my head, but nonetheless, I mean, there's not much praise going into beating a team that's worse than you, all right? But nonetheless, I mean, Timberwolves are such a weird team to me. They're like the Portland Trailblazers, right? Got all the talent in the world, but just for some reason cannot be consistent at all, all right? I don't know what it is, but nonetheless, here we are, okay? And you know what? Speaking of those lesser teams, that's who we're going to be talking about in this segment, all right? Most of those teams, as far as if you're watching ESPN, Fox Sports, or whatever, these teams aren't getting too much love, all right? Teams like the Kings aren't getting talked about. Teams like the Hawks, teams like the Mavericks, all right? Any of these other teams, I mean, unless you play in a big market, no one's really talking too much about you. I mean, look at the Lakers, all right? They are 23-34, but, I mean, they get a news article every week about them on ESPN. Every day, it feels like, all right? I think LeVar Ball's got his own page on that little website. But nonetheless, we're going to give a little shout out to the small guys in the league, all right? We're going to talk about the Magic, the Hawks, the Nets, I guess we're going to talk about the Lakers too, I guess. We could probably fit some more about them from the last segment into this one. We'll talk about the Suns, the Mavericks, and the Kings also, all right? So you know what? let's get into it. Let's talk Tankathon 2018, okay? So all these teams, I mean, look at it here, all right? Worst 3 teams in the West. Actually, the 4 worst teams in the West all have 18 wins, okay? The Grizzlies are 18-38, Kings are 18-39, Mavericks are 18-40, the Suns are 18-41. That is wild how the losses just go down one by one. I did not realize that. All right, and then the 4 worst teams in the East: Bulls with 20-37, Nets at 19-40, Orlando Magic at 18-39, and then the Hawks at 18-41. You notice who gets to be at the bottom? The team with the most losses, okay? That is the goal for these teams, all right? Have the most losses so that way you have a chance to get that number 1 pick. And it's crazy to say it, man. It's weird just how the NBA, like the NBA is the only league where really tanking is welcome. All right, I know they tried changing up the lottery in order to make it worse for teams who tank, but I mean these teams I think they have all the chance in the world to be have high picks like that. So, I mean, tanking. Let's talk about tanking for a minute. All right, we may just make this a segment about tanking, but nonetheless, tanking. I've never really been a fan of it. All right, the Sixers, I guess, are the team who have really only benefited from it. All right, because teams like I don't know, for the Lakers and Celtics rebuild, did the Lakers tank or not? All right, because the Lakers, they had a bad team, but nonetheless, I don't think they were trying to lose, trying to go out there. Obviously, there's no team with the certain players that want to go out and lose, but as far as the front office putting players on the team in order to put them in the best positions to win, that's what tanking is to me. All right, for the Sixers, when they were tanking all those years, all right, you had players from the D League starting. All right, you had 5 D League players starting at one time for the Sixers, right? I don't think the Lakers really ever did that. I just think they were a bad team trying to rebuild. And I think they've done pretty fine throughout this rebuild. I mean, you've ended up with players like Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, all right? Let's see, am I missing anyone else? I mean, you did have Larry Nance for a couple of moments, but I really like Larry Nance on the Lakers too. I'm not much of a fan of the Lakers at all. I guess you could say the Lakers are one of the teams I really dislike in the league, but nonetheless, I really like Larry Nance on that team. But nonetheless, now he's back in Cleveland, and I realize I'm saying nonetheless a lot. But getting back to it, all right. Well, Lakers, I mean, I don't think they ever really tried to tank. The Celtics never really tanked. I mean, the Celtics have and no one else but the Nets to thank for that fast-paced rebuild that they did. All right, I think what was it, Billy King that signed off on the trade for the Nets as far as them getting Paul Pierce, Garnett, Jason Terry for those 4 unprotected first-round picks and Gerald Wallace, and I think there was a couple other players that came. I mean, wow. It's crazy. Usually you'll see a GM get fired and then eventually he'll get another chance, but that trade pretty much took away any chance Billy King could have got of getting another GM job. That's one of the craziest, probably the worst trade of all time, honestly. All right. I almost said it again. All right. But getting back to it, I mean, as far as these teams that are tanking right now, I just don't, I don't know. Because teams like the Kings, okay, let's talk about the Kings for a moment. Are the Kings a team that have tanked, or are they a team that, because the Kings haven't been in the playoffs since 2006, I believe. All right, so have they been tanking since then, or is that front office just that bad? I'm more inclined to think that front office is just brutal, terrible, awful, okay? This year, they've shown that, they can be a little bit competent. They've made a couple of the right moves and all that, but, even then, it's just ridiculous, all right? You had DeMarcus Cousins, all right? You hit on a draft pick. You had DeMarcus Cousins, top player in the league, and year after year, whether it was firing his coach or drafting players like Jimmer Fredette, they just refused to put help around the guy. All right, refused. I'm not sure why. It kind of reminds me LeBron in his first stint with Cleveland. Cleveland, for some reason, obviously they knew what they had in LeBron. Okay, they knew that, but for some reason that team just refused to put talent around him. All right. Guys like Daniel Gibson, Mo Williams were out there, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Ilgauskas was pretty good. You got Anderson Varejao, but those aren't good, great players or anything like that. They're not. All right, Ilgauskas was pretty good, but those other guys were just role players. They never put anyone around LeBron. That's why he left. All right, I remember when Cleveland fans were burning his jersey. What do you expect, dude? They never put talent around him. All right. But that's what the Kings reminded me when DeMarcus Cousins. His favorite coach was Mike Malone, and they got rid of him for no reason. It felt like I think the owner just didn't like him, so he fired him. Okay, and that's why DeMarcus Cousins. They traded DeMarcus Cousins after that. The Kings really tried spinning it to where it was DeMarcus Cousins holding back that rebuild, and that's what some of the commentators and all that announcers think, and pretty much fans around there think that DeMarcus Cousins is the one that held them back. But, I mean, passing on Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson for Jimmer Fredette didn't help. All right, drafting Papagiannis 2 years ago, now he's not even on your team, didn't help. I mean, the Kings have just been a dumpster fire for so long. That's why no one wants to go play for the Kings, okay? And I know we're supposed to talk about other teams that are tanking right now. We'll try and fit them in as the segment goes on. Maybe we could just push it to the next. But, I mean, nonetheless, I mean, the Kings are just, I don't know. All right, I don't know. Now they do have a nice little young core, I guess. You got De'Aaron Fox, who's been developing. Willie Cauley-Stein, who time to time shows that he can be a really good player. All right, I really like Bogdan Bogdanovic. I think that's a nice little key player that they could have for the next few years going forward. All right, dude's a nice little spot-up shooter and pretty much just does well creating his own shot. All right, let's see what else do they got going on. I mean, Zach Randolph is a nice little veteran, but he's not going to be there after this year, I don't think. Maybe he'll be there again next year, but I got to work on saying that. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, they got Buddy Hield off the bench. They got Justin Jackson, who's shown flashes this year. The Kings are a Ben Simmons away from becoming a playoff team. Okay, and what that means is obviously they're not going to get the real Ben Simmons, but a player of that caliber. All right, drafting a player of that caliber, they're that close to being a team who could compete, because these players on the team right now, they have ability and they have talent, but I don't think any of these guys, unless De'Aaron Fox just pretty much erupts into a great player next season, are guys that are going to be able to take this team to the playoffs. All right. And I think that's the goal for the Kings. Yeah, you're trying to rebuild, but eventually you got to start winning, all right? The Kings just don't have a winning culture whatsoever. And the last few weeks, they've been playing good basketball, but nonetheless, they just don't win ball games, all right? So as far as they go and all that, I mean, I'm not sure how much longer this team could last, all right? I live in Sacramento. I would never want to see the Kings leave, but I mean, eventually you got to start putting a product out there, or else they're just going to ship you out to Seattle like they maybe should have done the first time. No, I like the Kings. Kings got good fans, all right? That's one thing about the Kings. They have a terrible team, but year in and year out, they always have good fans, all right? Yeah, they're not always going to sell out their stadiums and stuff like that, but that's because, I mean, they put out a terrible product year in and year out. So, I mean, as far as the Kings leaving, I guess I don't want them to leave, but they got to figure something out, man. It's just ridiculous to see how bad they've been for so long. All right, I don't get it. But nonetheless, let's talk about another team, all right? Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns as we wrap up this segment, all right? We'll talk about the Suns for the rest, and then for the next segment, we'll talk about the other teams and pretty much talk about All-Star Weekend, all right? And I think Kobe said some things, too, that I want to talk about. But nonetheless, let's talk about the Suns, okay? The Suns are like the Kings, except, I don't know, is there any difference between them? I mean, there was a time where the Suns were really good, and there was a time where the Kings were really good. The Kings were really good from about 2001 to like 2006, I guess, because that's the last time they made the playoffs. Their peak years were really more 2001 to 2003. All right, 2002, they should have won that series against the Lakers, but the refs had a lot to do with that. But that's a conversation for a different day. All right, and the Suns, they were really good with Steve Nash and Mari Stoudemire. All right, you had guys like Sean Marion. And am I missing anyone else from that team? I don't know, but nonetheless, you had Steve Nash and all those guys. All right, and ever since then, the Suns really haven't done anything. All right? That front office is just as incompetent as the one in Sacramento. Okay? Just as bad. All right? And, I mean, you've had guys like Devin Booker come in, and like their draft picks really haven't worked out too well, all right? You got drafted Dragan Bender, I think it was that last year? Or was it, no, that was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. Not this past draft, but the one before that, okay? They drafted Dragan Bender. Dragan Bender has been, he's been like that's it. Okay, I guess, all right. That's it. Dragan Bender hasn't been great, hasn't been good, hasn't been bad, I guess. Just hasn't been the fourth pick that I'm sure Phoenix wanted him to be, all right? You got Devin Booker, all right, volume scorer, guy, one of the best scorers in the, on his way to becoming one of the best scorers in the league, all right? But the Suns really haven't put anything around him. All right, drafting guys like Tyler Ulis isn't going to get it done. All right, Josh Jackson has shown flashes this season about how kind of player he could be, but the Suns are like, they're not heading in any direction. They're just getting blown out. All right, that's why they're so similar to the Kings as of the last decade or so. All right, they bring in players or whatever, but they're not going up. They're just staying the same. They're just staying bad. All right. So I mean, the Suns got to figure it out too. But that's pretty much all I got to say about the Suns. All right, I don't want to get too into it as far as them. All right, they just pretty much they need a new front office, and they need pretty much to fix up that coaching staff, if anything. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about a couple of other tanking teams, all right? Talk briefly about them. We'll talk about Kobe Bryant's comments as far as what it takes to be a Laker and all that. And then we'll talk a bit about All-Star Weekend, too. Pretty much anything else going on in the world of basketball. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. So far today, we've talked about the Celtics, talked about how they're terrible at shooting the ball, and just pretty much terrible on the offensive end. Alright, it's just Kyrie, Terry Rozier, and Al Horford doing everything. They can't play a lick of defense, alright? They've been pretty bad since Marcus Smart hurt his hand. Swiping at a glass picture frame, still don't know why he did that. Don't even know what was running through his mind in order to do that, but nonetheless he did it. So he's been out for a couple of weeks. Probably won't be back till the end of the All-Star break, or till after the All-Star break, I should say. All right. As far as the Cavs and Raptors go, top two teams in the East. All right. Cavs playing good basketball. Raptors playing great basketball. All right. We talked about the Nuggets and Bucks, two future teams of their respective conferences. I like the Nuggets especially. I also like the Bucks too, though, because they got Giannis, you got Parker, you got Bledsoe, Brogdon, and Middleton, and then Thon Maker. That dude's like, what, 20 years old, I think? Looks like he's 40. But nonetheless, what else we talk about today? We talked about in the last segment, we spent it talking about tanking a bit. All right. Let's see. Yeah, spent it talking about tanking. Talked about the Kings and the Suns, the ultimate tankers. And it's crazy because they tank and they can't do it right. All right. And then we talked about the Sixers a bit and their little tanking philosophy. And we talked about the Lakers a bit too. So we talked about a bit about each team. Okay. And now for this segment, we're going to be talking a little bit about all the other bad teams. Not all of them, all right, because it's going to take a while. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about a couple other bad teams. We're going to talk about Kobe Bryant's comments about, I think it was like what it takes to be a Laker and all that, pretty much taking over the legacy and stuff like that, and how, I don't know, dude, like, I love Kobe Bryant, all right, but I feel like the whole, I don't know, just the whole persona of him and stuff like that, it's kind of getting old, dude. All right, because he's out here talking about how, let me see if I can pull up the article again, but he's talking about how, I mean, how do I say it? Let's see, I got it. Only special players can be Lakers, all right? And if a player needs convincing to go play for him, then they're not the one. And, I mean, that just reminded me to, like, all the players going, well, when Kobe was playing, all of them going to listen for free agent meetings and stuff like that. Which makes me think, like, Kobe was never there trying to, like, Kobe, I think one of Kobe's biggest problems was that he didn't care about anyone else, okay? And that mentality, like, it's a nice little mentality, I guess, for being a competitor. But believe it or not, you can't do it all on your own. And before all the Lakers fans saying, what about 2010? What about 2011? I mean, he didn't do it on his own. He had one of the best power forwards in the game in Pau Gasol at that time. All right, probably the best six man in the game, and Lamar Odom. All right, and Derek Fisher was a nice point guard in that league too. Yeah, obviously Kobe was by far, without a doubt, the best player on that team. But I mean, go check his stats too in those finals, and I guarantee you're going to find something a little bit surprising. All right, and as far as what he did with Shaq, I mean, they both played off of each other, so I mean, they both needed each other there. All right, and one thing I want to say too. All right, for all the people out there that say, oh, LeBron can't win anything on his own, so-and-so can't win anything on his own. Yeah, you can win a championship on your own. All right, quit telling me that Jordan won a championship on his own. He didn't. He had probably he had the top 5 player on his team is Scottie Pippen, all right? He had Dennis Rodman, he had Ron Harper, and a bunch of other good guys, okay? Celtics teams, Larry Bird, they had a bunch of Hall of Famers on that team. Kevin McHale, All right, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish, all those guys out there. All right, like I said, Kobe had Shaq. Shaq had Kobe. All right, Dwayne Wade had Shaq. All right, Kobe, like I said, had one of the best power forwards in the game, Pau Gasol. Also had Lamar Odom. Okay, no one has ever won a championship on their own. All right, we got to start using our heads as far as talking about it. Okay, no player does it on his own. It takes probably at least 2 Hall of Famers on one team to in order to win a title. All right, like I said, Pippen and Jordan, Shaq, Kobe. I'm sure either Gasol or Fisher's going to end up being a Hall of Famer, all right, because, it didn't really take much to get into the Basketball Hall of Famer, if we're being real here, okay? Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Steph Curry, KD, all right? And even then, I'm sure when it's all said and done, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are going to have Hall of Fame careers too. All right, so we'll see how it all ends up, but nonetheless, let's stop saying that players can win it on their own because they can't. All right, but as far as getting back to the whole Kobe thing, it was during an interview with Jalen Rose, and he's talking about how you got to be a certain type of player to go play for the Lakers, yada, yada, yada. And I think that's all cool and all, but the times have changed, okay? There's no one like Kobe, and there never will be anyone else like Kobe in this game, okay? People are going to say Russell Westbrook and all that. No, he doesn't come close to Kobe, okay? Russell Westbrook, I feel like he does let the media get to him a little bit. He's not going to show it too much or anything like that, but he does show it a bit, all right? But he's going to act like he doesn't care, all right? But nonetheless, Kobe legit didn't care what the media had to say or anything like that. All right, and there's never going to be another person like that, and I think Kobe needs to realize that too, all right? There's never going to be another Kobe Bryant. No one, Kobe Bryant was, I think, a jerk of a teammate, if we're being real here, all right? That's why Dwight Howard couldn't handle him there, okay? And neither could anyone else. That's why Shaq left and all that. All right, no one wants to play with Kobe. That's why no free agents ever went over there. Okay, none. No one just wanted to play with Kobe, and that's fine because Kobe was still one of the best players in the game. All right, but this whole that you got to go a certain way, act a certain way for the Lakers, no, that's not the case anymore. Right? Lonzo Ball is supposed to be the quote-unquote savior of the Lakers. That's why they took him at number 2, and if that's not the case anymore, then that's one heck of a way to pretty much go back on what you were saying the entire time, talking to you, Magic Johnson. But either way, all right, Lonzo Ball isn't a Kobe mentality type player at all. All right, Lonzo Ball is out there just to play basketball. Lonzo Ball doesn't care about anything else. Okay, so as far as needing to be this certain type of player to play for the Lakers, that's not the case, dude. The Lakers are a team who have been pretty bad since they started their rebuild. All right, really haven't done much. Yeah, they have a couple of good young players, or a few good young players, I should say. Don't want to shortchange them, but nonetheless, this whole you got to be a certain way to play for them. I'm not buying that anymore. All right, Kobe, yeah, cool, you're a certain way, but it's time to get over all that because I don't know, I'm kind of tiresome of it. But nonetheless, let's talk about some of the other bad teams in the league. All right, so you got teams like the Magic. All right, the Magic are the kings of the East. Okay, bad front office, let players go. Players do well when they leave, all right, and no one really wants to go play there, okay, unless they're getting paid. And I don't think the Kings could pay anyone any amount of money to play in Sacramento. And again, I still don't understand why Sacramento is so hated as an NBA city as far as by players, but nonetheless, here we are. All right, so with the Magic, you have good young players. You have guys like Aaron Gordon, all right, Evan Fournier, and is that it? Is that all the good young players they have? Let's look at their roster. 18 and 39, terrible. All right. Ooh, there's another story I want to talk about. Nonetheless, all right. So you got Jonathan Simmons on that team. Jonathan Isaac's been out for a while. You got Aaron Gordon, like I said, Fournier. No real true, I guess, young guys anymore. All right. They pretty much got to rebuild everything as far as the Magic go. All right. But there's a story I want to talk about before I get into anything else. All right. And I think I might going to ditch the other idea of talking about all the other bad teams. Okay. So listen to this. Tim Duncan almost joined the Magic, I think it was in 2001, almost played with Tracy McGrady and Grant Hill, okay? Grant Hill goes on ESPN yesterday saying that there was a meeting, and this was like a rumor, like a little rumor about it, all right? There was a meeting, Grant Hill was there, I think, and one of Tim Duncan's guys at the meeting asked, can significant others ride on the team plane, okay? Doc Rivers said no, and sure enough, that's why Tim Duncan did not go and sign with them, all right? Imagine Tim Duncan, one of the best players in the league, could have been paired with one of the most explosive players in the league in Tracy McGrady. All right, could have had Grant Hill there too, or would have had Grant Hill there too. And the only reason it didn't happen was because Tim Duncan's wife couldn't ride on the team plane. All right, good job, Doc Rivers. Good job. All right, let's say Tim Duncan goes to the Magic. That alters the future of their franchise big time. All right, completely changes everything. Right, there's that whole thing, the butterfly effect. Imagine if Tim Duncan goes there. Do they win championships? Maybe. Nonetheless, they're still a good team. All right, and I guarantee you, if they had Tim Duncan, they would not be as bad as they were now, because Tim Duncan played quite a bit in the NBA. All right, so the Magic really messed that one up there. All right, I remember watching, you see Tracy McGrady's expression, dude, and Tracy McGrady's just like, are you kidding me? Like, just, it hurts him to talk about it. All right, so yeah, the Magic could have had Tim Duncan, but, I mean, Doc Rivers said, nope, your wife can't ride on the team plane. Which is crazy. What does it matter if they do? All right, it's Tim Duncan. You got to give up special privileges, or you got to give special privileges to these special players, all right? But nonetheless, sure enough, he said no, and we all know how the rest plays out. Spurs go win titles, Magic, bad team, all right? So that's all I got to say about that. Now let's finish up the show talking about the All-Star festivities, okay? Let's talk about the Mountain Dew, what is it? The Mountain Dew Mountain Dew Kickstart Rising Stars game, all right? For the world team, you have Bogdan Bogdanovic out of Sacramento, Dylan Brooks from Memphis, Joel Embiid from, obviously, Philly, Buddy Hield, Sacramento, Lauri Markkanen, Baby Dirk from Chicago, Jamal Murray, Denver, Frank Ntilikina from New York. I'm going to pronounce his last name better. Domantas Sabonis from Indiana, and then you got Sarge and Simmons, obviously, from Philly. For Team USA, you got Jaylen Brown from Boston, Jason Tatum from Boston, John Collins, Atlanta, Chris Dunn, obviously, from Chicago, De'Aaron Fox from Sac, all right, Brandon Ingram from LA, Kuzma from LA, Mitchell from Utah, Taurean Prince from Atlanta, and Dennis Smith Jr. from Dallas. Okay, Team USA, without a doubt, has the best team, so they're going to win this game, all right? Set in stone, that's my pick. All right, then for the dunk contest, you got Donovan Mitchell, Victor Oladipo, Dennis Smith Jr., Larry Nance. I think Larry Nance is too big to win this tournament. Yeah, he's extremely athletic, but I don't think he's as athletic as these other guys, all right? You got Victor Oladipo. I don't really think he's going to win it, so it's between Dennis Smith and Donovan Mitchell for me, all right? I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. Have you seen that guy get up and jump? The dude's explosive. Even for a rebound, the dude gets up, all right? So I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. Then for the JBL three-point contest, you got Devin Booker, Wayne Ellington, Paul George, Bradley Beal, Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon. Do I go Klay Thompson or do I go with someone else? I go with someone else. I'm picking Wayne Ellington. The Heat always know how to put out three-point winning champions, all right? James Jones, 2011, Daquan Cook in 2009, and then in 1995, Glenn Rice, okay? Two of them won it in Phoenix. James Jones won it in LA, so that means you got to have a second win it in LA, which is going to be Wayne Ellington. So that's my pick. Then for the All-Star game itself, you got for Team LeBron, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, LaMarcus Aldridge, Bradley Beal, Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond, Paul George, Victor Oladipo, Kemba Walker, Russell Westbrook. All right, for Team Steph, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford, Damian Lillard, Kyle Lowry, Klay Thompson, Karl Anthony Towns. All right, no one tell. Actually, never mind. I was going to make a joke. Never mind. All right. But nonetheless, I still think even with all the injuries, DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Love, Kristaps, and John Wall, I still think LeBron's team is better. So I'm going to go with LeBron's team winning this game. All right. It's going to be interesting to see KD go up against his teammates. It's going to be fun to watch. I kind of like this. All right, we're going to see Kyrie and LeBron play again. Not sure how Kyrie is, if he's too happy about it, whether he is or whether he's not. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I'm going with Team LeBron for the win. All right. So those are my picks for the All-Star festivities this weekend. I'm not sure who's in the celebrity game, so sadly I can't make my pick for that. But that's going to wrap it up for the today's show. Thanks for listening. All right. Like I said, today we talked about the Celtics, Toronto, Cleveland. All right, talked about yesterday's games. We talked about the Kings tanking and the Suns. And then we talked about the Magic, how they could have had Tim Duncan also. And then we made my picks for this weekend's All-Star festivities. So thanks again for listening to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back on Monday, so stay tuned till then, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.